Coach Mednick. And secondly, I'd like to also thank Scott Nassa and the Nassa family for their donation to help make this dedication possible. And our special guest here today is Linda Tassetti, Babe Ruth's granddaughter, and she's going to get up and speak in a minute. We are very, very lucky to have her here today. I was out at Haskell Field this morning. Does anyone know where Haskell Field is? Do you guys know what I was doing out at Haskell Field today? Anyone want to guess?
Bobby had a game?
Soccer, yeah, Bobby had a game, exactly. So that area of town, Haskell Field and Home Plate Farm. Home Plate Farm was originally a 155-acre farm owned by Babe Ruth, and right next to it was Mert Haskell's farm. And Mert and Babe Ruth used to hang out together, two farmers back in the day, used to have a lot of fun. And that area of Sudbury is literally where Babe Ruth would invite every kid in Sudbury, literally every kid in Sudbury. There was only about 1,000 people in Sudbury back in the teens and 20s, so it was a very small farming town. Even kids from Maynard that were just 2 miles away, they would come over. And Babe Ruth would play with all of them. He would drive his Packard, his famous Packard, through Sudbury up to Boston Post Road. There was a selectman back in the day named Forrest Bradshaw, who had a general store on Boston Post Road, and Babe Ruth would buy a bunch of food and meat, and he'd come back and they'd have these big parties. They'd cook up a bunch of food, invite all the kids in the neighborhood, and they would play and they would have a great time. And that was what Babe Ruth loved the most about Sudbury, and in general was playing with the kids like you. And it was 100 years ago. So this is appropriate, the 100-year anniversary of Babe Ruth moving to Sudbury. I think it was 1915 and 1926. That he owned both he lived in both the cabin on Willis Lake, which is a historic property, and Home Plate Farm, the house on Dutton Road. And originally it was 155 acres of that area. And guess what else was going on over at Haskell Field this morning? Anyone want to guess? A baseball game. And what level of baseball was it? Babe Ruth baseball. I was thinking about that this morning. Right there, where Babe Ruth used to play with all those kids during the off season, they play baseball there almost every day, all spring and summer long. They play Babe Ruth baseball. Very cool. So as you grow up and every time you go to Haskell Field and you play soccer and baseball and all the other sports over there, think about that. That's Babe Ruth's area, and his spirit still lives there because that's where he had so much fun with all the kids. So I don't know. There's probably a few other things I wanted to say, but I think Babe Ruth would be happy to see you kids here today. He would love this 100 years later that we're recognizing what he did for Sudbury. Arguably our most famous resident, and the 100-year anniversary of him moving to Sudbury and spending many years in Sudbury playing with the kids of Sudbury. He taught the kids how to work hard, how to have fun. I think one year he lost 21 pounds working hard with the kids during the off-season, chopping wood, shoveling snow, working out with the kids, and he went back to season at, I think, 214 pounds, his lightest weight, and had his best year ever up until that point, until the following year when he had his best year ever, and probably for about 10 years after that. But it was Sudbury. It really was Sudbury, and the activity he did in Sudbury in the off-season, which could be argued, made him great.
I did. No, it did. That's when I got fit. And he had fun doing it.
And he had fun doing it. So he taught the kids how to work hard and how to have fun, and I think that's his legacy more than anyone else. So that's a good segue. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Babe Ruth's granddaughter, Linda Tassetti.
Thank you. I'm short. I didn't get his height. He was 6'2". I think I'm 5'3". I was 5'4", and I'm shrinking. Anyway. Thank you. What a beautiful day for a ball game, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. Couldn't ask for a better day. No, it's right. Sudbury, my grandfather used to hunt and fish in this area when he was, first started with Boston. And so he knew, in fact, he stayed at the Wayside Inn, and that's why he saw the farm and bought the farm for him and his wife, Helen, at the time. And my mother, who is Dorothy Perrone, is his blood daughter. And she, of course, she was raised on the farm until she was 6 years old, about 6 or 7. But he was right. Babe's first love before baseball were you guys, and his energy is still alive today. And I'm able to do what I'm doing here, and make people happy because of his energy and because of you, because that's where the energy lives. He believed that baseball started with the kids, and they start them young, and you were very important to him. To his very last day before he died, he actually went down to the children's ward and visited with the children the day before he passed. Because when he was around you guys, he was his happiest, and he turned into one of you. You know, he touched back when he was a kid. So he wanted to tell you guys, you have fun with the game. You know, I see a lot of little leaguers, they get really upset because they don't get that home run they really want. Well, Babe would tell you there's always the next day, the next game, the next year, because that's a baseball creed. That's a baseball player's creed. And you don't take from one game to the next game. You leave it at that game. And it only brings you closer to the next home run. So you're supposed to have fun. You're not supposed to get upset. You're not supposed to stress. Because one thing Babe never did, he never stressed. He was so relaxed on a field because he loved it so much. And so that's what he wanted to pass along to you guys. That's the first thing he'd say. He'd ask you have fun, what position you play, which I'll get to see you guys. And I look forward to talking to you one at a time after we're done with the official stuff. It'll be fun to visit, and I got some postcards for you guys, and you can tell me whether you're how many Boston fans? Okay, how many in New York?
Is there only one?
And by the way, Alan, there's the accent. New York. That's Connecticut, New York. Anyway, so I'm happy to be here, and I can answer any questions you want. And it's just really cool. And my grandfather, he swung big. How does anybody know how big a bat he swung?
83 ounces.
Oh no, that he'd pick his teeth with that. Want to try again? It's up.
52.
Oh, close. 2 more ounces and you got it. That's it. He, from 1916 to 1922, he swung a 54-ounce bat. Because in his time, the heavier, you know, Shoeless Joe Jackson, does anybody know? Okay. Well, he was Babe's idol. And the man who made his bats whittled Babe's bats when he was younger. And from 16 to 22, he wielded it, and they thought the bigger the stick, the longer the home run. Now, Babe hurt his wrist, and he had to come down an ounce or two, and he realized in 1922 that if he came down, he had more accuracy. So then he came down to a 52, and at one time, get this, you hold a 54-ounce bat, and it's like holding a tree. You know, a tree. It's so heavy. He actually, for a very, very tiny time, swung a 58-ounce bat. How do you like that? That was a tree. But he definitely, I think the lightest he went was 42 in his retirement, or 30. I'm not sure it's 42 or 36. Andy, 42 or 36. By the way, that's my husband, Andy. If you got any questions about stats, they don't stay in this head, but he's got them. Anything about Babe, he's got the stats.
42.
It's a 42, I was right. Okay. And so he was even mighty in his bat. That's why when Babe swung big and he missed big, do you ever see pictures of Babe and he looks like he's got his legs are like this?
Like that up there.
Yeah.
Where?
On the plaque.
Oh, yeah. Well, when he missed, they'd look like, you know, what do they call those things? Yeah, they look like corkscrew. Because that 54-ounce bat, when it comes around, you keep going. It does not stop. And he ended up, because he did this so often, he ended up giving himself an intestinal abscess that he had to have taken care of. Because sometimes if you look at pictures, his body is this way, and, well, it'd be like this. His chest is that way.
Like the picture on your shirt.
Exactly, except he's, yeah, see how, except his waist would even come around more. That's how much. But he definitely came at a time when baseball needed him in 1919. They had gambling in baseball, and you got to understand at that time it was a bigger deal than it is now. And that's why they have, you're not allowed to bet on baseball in the clubhouse. That's one of the rules. It's because in 1919, when the, was it the Cubs?
Chicago White
White
Sox.
Sox.
Chicago White Sox. supposedly through the game. So here comes Babe.
Actually,
People are
he's got
so
the hat on right
disgusted
there.
with baseball they don't even want to look at it. It's evil. It's awful. All these gangsters hanging around. So now Babe comes with the home run. Now before that, not to make a lecture, but I'll be really short. When Babe went and hit 20 home runs, he actually invented the home run. They would move the man from base to base before Babe. So they would get 2 hits, bunt, this, and the thing was to move the man. It was a very scientific game, they called it. And it just, you went like this all day. Well, here comes Babe at a young 19, and he's hitting 437, 500-foot home runs. And who is this guy? It's gone. What's going on? And with that excitement, franchise by franchise, he got all the fans to come back to baseball. So he literally saved the game. That's the truth. In fact, I asked Bob Feller if he actually saved, and he said absolutely. If Babe didn't do what he did, I wouldn't be talking to Bob Feller in a Hall of Fame if Babe didn't save baseball. So we're very proud of that. We're proud of his home runs, but we're proud of him standing up for what he believed in and going against, fighting for the little guy, fighting for you guys, and baseball. So with that, I'm going to let you guys go because you're probably anxious to get on the field. We're a little late and you've been so patient. But I will look forward to seeing all of you and talking to you, and you can guarantee when you're on that base, Babe is right off your right shoulder. I'm telling you, it's the truth. He's wherever baseball is played, and he's with the kids.